What is your never again story? A friend of my grandma complained about not having any help to clean her house. She was a sweet, well put together old lady in her 80s. On a whim, and to impress my grandma, I offered to come by and clean up her house for her. I planned 3 hours, windows, floors, shampoo, carpets, all that stuff. I showed up to an episode of Hoarders. I made it up to 5 giant bags of trash without it looking like anything had been done. I had to bail. I told the lady that I wanted to help, but that I thought she probably needed a professional. I'm surprised she was even allowing you to throw anything away. Hoarders usually won't part with much. I was making 2 pumpkin pies for my family on Thanksgiving. I had all the pumpkin baked and scraped out. I go to mix in the eggs. 4 in total. The last egg plops out. Rotten. Oh, the smell. Oh, the all of my pumpkin puree that is now contaminated. No time to try again. Break your eggs into a separate bowl when baking. Holy crap. My aunt once told me this exact same story she said happened to her in the 70s. Making pumpkin pie, cracked an egg into the mix and it was black and rotten. Pie ingredients in the bowl now ruined. Was too late to get more stuff, so there was no pie in the end. To this day always cracks her eggs into a separate bowl. Crazy how close it is. When I was around 6 I didn't realize that when you smell something you are supposed to take a light whiff, not the most intense possible snort when the object is right in front of your nose. One time my dad was cooking and said, "Hey, Andrew, come smell this," so I walk over. He holds a jar of horseradish under my nose and I take one of my industrial sniffs. You can guess how that felt. My dad still feels bad to this day. I lost it at industrial sniffs. I had a 4:30 am to 1 pm shift to work the next day. At around 9 pm the night before I thought it would be a good idea to just stay up all night and just go to work. I had some dumb idea that being up all night will make me feel more awake than sleeping and waking up feeling groggy. Did not go well. A few months ago my job decided it would be a good idea to schedule me one day a week 9 am to 5:30 pm. When normally I work 2 pm to 10:30 pm with my sleep schedule being 5 am to noon 30. I pulled the all-nighter every dang Tuesday. That was a trip. Gave myself a black eye. My car door was frozen shut and it was the end of a long shift at work. It was like 1 am and I was ready to leave. Tried yanking the door open multiple times. 4th time I use all my strength and anger to rip the fricking door open. Slammed it right into my face. Now it wasn't a horribly fricked up black eye, but a nice cut on my face with a lovely noticeable bruise. I once offered a seemingly poor old lady computer help. She mentioned online she needed a working computer to search for a job. It was my wake up call on tech support. Yes, they can really be that stupid. All that was wrong with her computer was that some Microsoft Windows taskbar element had changed. There was a lot of dust in the case, so I decided to do a quick cleanup. I noticed the computer only had 2x1GB RAM, and since I had some spare 2GB DDR2 sticks I offered to check if it was the same kind so I could upgrade it for free. Windows on 2GB RAM is a pain. When I took it out she immediately accused me of stealing computer parts and also at some point that I was installing a virus. I did explain the taskbar confusion so she could use the computer again, but she never bothered thanking me. I can understand why she was unemployed tbh. That's when I knew I should never get into tech support for people who are clueless with computers. I get too frustrated from people who can't do basic stuff like file management or even using the Windows taskbar, and are ungrateful when you honestly try to help them. I love it when people are super paranoid about computers while simultaneously knowing nothing about them, and they don't listen when you try to teach them things. I wrote fan fiction when I was 15 years old for the laughs. My friend introduced me to it and I thought I would try writing it myself. Fast track to my senior year. A person I used to be friends with somehow found a very sexual one and showed it to everyone in my grade at lunchtime. It was super embarrassing and I wish I had never written it. At least it wasn't erotic friend fiction. I have a firm policy against smelling the things people hold up and tell me to smell this. I don't remember what caused said policy to be made, but it's saved me many times. 16-year-old me was playing bass in a punk band. A buddy and I had been wanting to try speed, but had no way of finding any in the burbs. We settled on taking a ton of caffeine pills as a substitute. We went to the store and bought a couple packs. I believe the recommended dose is 1-2 pills. We each took 8. Fast forward 15 minutes later and we were ripping it up during band practice feeling like badasses. Fast forward another 15 minutes and I felt like I was dying. Both of us were keeled over not moving much. I got my mom to come pick me up and claimed I was just not feeling well. In order for this plan to work my buddy had to stay at band practice because to us with stomachaches would have been suspicious. Poor bastard. By the time I got home I ran straight up to the bathroom. I've never been so grateful or aware of how conveniently my bathroom was laid out for what was about to happen. I was simultaneously crapping and puking my brains out, sitting on the toilet while leaning my head into the sink. Worst couple hours of my teenage life. TLDR. Took 4-8x the dose of caffeine pills. Pooped and puked at the same time. 2-day drive with the family. Dad was driving. Had a new GPS. But still missed every exit. Couldn't figure out how road signs worked. But if I pointed them out, got yelled at every time an exit was coming up. So was a fight between mom, dad, and sister. Dad decides the next day we will leave by 4 AM. Wants to pull over and take a nap at 6 AM. Sister now drives. Mother is used to being navigator. GPS makes her nervous because it's going a different way than her standard route. Increasingly starts to panic, but says it's fine even after sister offers to go her way. Gets to a boiling point and starts losing her mind, yelling and grabbing the wheel while we're on a mountainside. Proceeds to be sulk because people are now mad at her and forgets entire incident hour later. Still claims not to remember. We make it home and I vow never again. Saintly husband even offers to drive everywhere whenever we visit family because small car trips equal big fights too. Years later mom and sister ask me on a road trip. Decline. They spend entire ride fighting. Mom has another episode choice validated. My sil did that. She yanked the wheel while we were on the interstate in Atlanta, GA. Crap was terrifying. Made the card game Exploding Kittens into a drinking game with friends. If you don't know, it's basically Russian roulette with cards. Everyone gets a defuse card and can defuse one bomb cat. After that the next bomb puts you out of the game. We started letting people stay in if they took a shot. I've never taken so many shots in such a short time. I made mashed potatoes without peeling and cutting the potatoes first. There was a rotten core inside one or more of them that I didn't notice until I started eating. I threw up and couldn't eat mashed potatoes for a long time. You showed great restraint. Rotten potatoes are the grossest thing on earth. I have pulled rotting calves out of cows, still not as gross as a bag full of rotten potatoes. I'm an excessive snacker. I'll finish a whole bag of chips within a few hours if you let me. I once ate a whole Costco-sized bag of prunes within an hour. I was living with my grandma at the time who, upon discovering that her bag of prunes she just bought was missing, asked me where they went. I came clean and expected her to give me an hour-long lecture like she was prone to do. Instead she gave me this smug look like she had the last laugh. An hour later, I had the worst, rancid farts I had in my life, followed by stomach cramps and diarrhea. Never again. Spirit Airlines. Wasn't even a long flight. LA to Vegas. Think of the shittiest Walmart you've ever been to and attach imaginary wings to it, and that is Spirit in a nutshell. Sometimes saving a couple extra bucks is just not worth the trouble. Think of the shittiest Walmart you've ever been to and attach imaginary wings to it, and that is Spirit in a nutshell. This is so accurate. I am going to second this. Spirit Breakers is also my never again. I went to my sister's and her BF's room to use their computer. I never really went in there to respect their, mostly his, privacy. There were condom wrappers and sex toys everywhere. Reminds me of the time my GF took her sister to our new place while I was out working. We had left a dildo out from the night before. Sister asks jokingly if it was for my pleasure. It was. My GF took the heat for it though, said it was only hers. Taking Xanax. I don't remember a whole week of my life. When I snapped out of it I was trying to fight someone. Those are the freaking devil. I'll never touch them again. I'm a teacher. One night I was working late in my building. Around 9 PM. I was alone in the building. All of a sudden the PA system started making static noises, which is super weird because to activate it you have to press a button. So I go down to the office to see who is pushing buttons. Nothing. Nobody. Okay. Weird, but I can call it a tech glitch. I check the alarm panel. Nobody coded in except me. I go back to my room to pack up because by then the static noises were freaking me out. But then there was a voice. A deep gravelly voice over the PA. It said leave, so I did. I noped out of there real fast. The next day I checked the computer that records our access codes every time we enter after hours, sure that it had been a co-worker messing with me. Mine was the only code for that night. I can't explain it. I don't work at night anymore. If this happened to me I wouldn't have waited to get to an exit, I would have made a me-sized hole in the wall. I took one of those extremely spicy food challenges at a local restaurant and got on their wall of flame. The food was delicious and I'd definitely do it again, except for the fact that digestive system can't handle nearly as much heat as my tongue. I spent the next 24 hours lying down trying not to move, to say nothing of trying to use the restroom. Me and my mentor symbolic brother got into a fight, and I didn't see the true advantage of the high ground, so he maimed me and left me to the environment as it almost killed me. Finally my new mentor came to my rescue, as my life was saved. My fiance's was not. She passed away during childbirth. Twins. Moral of the story is, I overestimated my own power and underestimated the high ground. We weren't expecting special forces. Accidentally getting bear spray on my hands and taking a pee about half hour later. Turns out washing your hands with soap 3x still won't wash away the spray. Talk about far crotch. Lots of Xanax stories, but I'm going to go with cleaning out dirty needles, only used by myself, with bleach. Shot the water into the last piece of black tar H and took the lighter to it and it looked milky. That's when I realized in my dope sickened state I shot bleach in the spoon instead of water. I was dope sick and it was all I had, so I shot it into my arm anyways. Burned incredibly bad all up my arm. I'll have been clean for 5 years in October. People are congratulating you on getting clean. I want to congratulate you on surviving that one. Cheated on and so once. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done. And I've done some stupid things. I hurt her more than I could have imagined. I hurt myself. I ruined a relationship. It was horrible. I guess the one bright side is that it did teach me a lesson about myself and I will never do that again. I'm still sorry thinking about it 17 years later. Well, at least you learned from your mistakes. I get the worst period shoots during my period. I was out at the cottage with my mum's church group, and I decided to eat a ton of dairy for lunch. Sour cream on potatoes, a Frosty with diet soda to make a shake. I'm lactose sensitive. I spent 15 minutes in the bathroom pooping soft serve and fire. I am never doing that again. In this comment thread, a reminder for us guys that no matter how bad periods seem, they are always somehow worse. Acid. I went to Florida a few years ago to see a girl and she asked me if I wanted to do it. Being stupid, I said sure. I had no idea it lasted for so long. Everything was so intense, colorful and kinda beautiful, but at the same time I knew once it was over, I never wanted to do it again. Donating blood. I never donated blood before and I just turned 16, so I wanted to help. My high school was holding a blood drive, so I went after lunch. The needle was put in my arm, but didn't get my vein. She slightly pulled it out and readjusted it and shoved it back in, without ever pulling the needle completely out of my arm. Once again, didn't hit my vein. After her third try of just digging the needle in my arm, she finally called someone else over to help. Between the two of them, they finally hit my vein. All is well for the first couple minutes. Then I start to get really hot. They put a fan on me. Next, my hearing starts to sound muffled. My sight becomes jumbled like I'm looking through a kaleidoscope. I tell them this and they lean me back. Then I go completely blind and deaf and tell the lady to take the needle out now. She doesn't. Then I become nauseous. I tell the lady that I'm going to throw up and to take the needle out now. She gets me a bath bag, but doesn't stop drawing blood. I puke in the bag several times and have to yell at her to stop taking blood before I go unconscious. She finally listens and stops. Once I regain my sight and hearing, I look around and all the blood drive workers are surrounded around me like they were about to call an ambulance. I look down and the bath bag had a hole in the bottom, so I'm covered in vomit. I didn't have a change of clothes, so I had to go to the rest of my classes in my vomit clothes. Never again will I donate blood. I've felt that way when giving blood before, but it sounds like you had some crappy techs helping you. Most people would immediately stop the drawer and get you sorted out. I'm never getting blackout drunk ever again. Worst feeling of my life. On the verge of throwing up but not actually throwing up. It's especially bad when you find out you did something horrible the night before. Sucked a dong cause I was curious. I'm a dude. Decided nope afterwards. Haven't sucked any more dongs since and I hope to never do so again. Just not my thing. Pee is good enough for me. To be fair, I did jack him off to CM just to be polite, but as soon as that sklong went in my mouth I was like I have made a terrible mistake and I regret everything about this. Jack him off to CM just to be polite. A while back I met up with a girl. We had been talking for a bit and a common topic was sex. We told each other our kinks, stuff we would do to each other, how she was on birth control and everything. Well, we do the deed, and since she had mentioned that she was on birth control and she thought cream pies are hot, I came in her. Turns out she was not on birth control. Cue me running to CVS late at night and spending all my money on Plan B. Fortunately she wasn't pregnant, but I'm never having sex without a condom unless I'm 200% sure they're on birth control. You still need to keep viruses off your wiener. Getting cramps. Bad cramps run in the family, and so one day I woke up with some horrible stomach pain on the left side. It was near crippling. Unfortunately, I mistook it for hunger and ate some mac and cheese and quarantined myself in the bathroom, pee and crapping out what I could in an attempt to relieve the pain. There were a few times that I lunged over the toilet, but it wasn't until I got to the sink that I puked. I puked up my mac and cheese and my water, and I suffered for a whole day. My mother eventually got a heating pad and applying it made me feel a bit better. I went to the doctors a few days later and I'm on the pill now. If cramps are so bad that you throw up, black out, or are unable to get out of bed, you might have endometriosis. Check with your gynecologist. Used to get drunk because I was at a low point. No girl, dead end job, no bright future. It was Christmas Eve. I drank Fireball. I got blackout drunk and had my friend drive us home. I wasn't thinking that we don't live together. He drove my car with me in the passenger seat all the way to his place. Got out and told me to drive safe as he walked into his place. I lived 15 miles from him. I was still so drunk that I could barely keep my eyes open. Somehow, by some crazy butt frickin' miracle, I made it 3/4 of the way home, pulled over at another friend's parents' house and parked my car and passed out. I woke up the next morning not fully aware of how I got where I was, but I got myself together and drove home. Before I continue, I'm a Pakistani guy raised in a Muslim house, but we still had Christmas for Christmas sake since I was 6 until I was 12. Money became tight for my family, so the unnecessary expense of Christmas was altogether scrapped. When I turned 16 I began celebrating Christmas with my friends but still never had it at home. Fast forward to me at 28. I have a 4-year-old niece and I want her to experience the magic of Christmas that I used to know. So I set up a mini Christmas tree and a little bit of decorating and got her some great gifts and even had her help me put ornaments on the tree. My older brother and his wife and daughter have a house with my parents. It's customary in our family line for at least one child to stay living with the parents. It's noon on Christmas Day. I'm arriving home from my drunken car slumber to find that my niece's first Christmas, which I spent all month putting together just for her, was missed by me entirely. It was one of the saddest moments in my life. I knew right then and there I had hit rock bottom. From that day forward, if I ever drank again, it was always just one until I could trust myself to have another. That was 3 years ago. I haven't been drunk once since that day. I drink more than one drink nowadays, but I have found that I am very self-aware when I'm drinking now and simply cannot bring myself to go past my limit. Moral: moderate yourself. Not just in drinking but everything. Life is just better with a little self-control, and a little self-control can go a long way. Work in Nigeria. Most unsettling 6 months of my life. and I've worked and lived in many countries in the Middle East and Central Asia. I was at a hot sauce store where they had samples of everything they had, including a concentrate that only took a couple of drops to flavor a whole pot of food. They let you try a drop on the tip of a toothpick after signing a waiver. On this particular day the staff didn't feel like controlling the concentrate and just had it sitting on the counter. Instead of just putting some on a toothpick, I grabbed one of the little spoons that were used for trying other sauces and filled it to the brim before eating it. What followed was the most intense pain of my life. I was on the floor of the mall's bathroom legitimately thinking I was going to die. I had gone with my parents, so I had to tell them what stupidity I had done so we could get on our hour-long drive home. The pain never subsided and got worse over the course of the night to the point that I went to the ER. The entire team laughed, said I would be fine, and tossed me some hydrocodone to ride out the pain. Since that day I haven't touched anything remotely close to as spicy as what I used to eat. I went from working M's to freelance writing and chasing my dream of writing for a living. Made that change back in like 2007. In 2013 I had a long-time client, good relationship with them, launching a new biz. They wanted me on board full time to handle all their marketing, but it meant relocating across the country with my family. The pay was good and I knew I could market this business and grow it, but I had reservations about losing my freedom that comes with self-employment. Wife and I agreed anyhow and went for it. Over a couple years of leading their sales and marketing, I was primarily responsible for growing that startup into a multi-million-dollar brand and taking it global. Despite that, I never even got close to half the salary they promised me. Didn't get it in writing. They just kept telling me I wasn't working hard enough. Refused to offer benefits to anyone because they didn't have to. Treated me and other employees like crap, including daily rants about no one working hard enough, and needed to be on social for that. The list goes on. That job pushed me into depression that required medication. I gained like 100 pounds and hated life daily. After 3 years of nonsense and false promises, I finally gave the middle finger and left. Never again will I work for another company. Self-employed and staying that way. Also, depression is gone and so is all the weight I gained. Frick that place. Let's just say that the margarita has a splash of tequila and the rest is margarita mix, not the other way around. Cinco de Mayo ended early this year. The first time I met my boyfriend's mom, she made me a margarita on the rocks. I say that because I'm 98% sure it was just a glass of tequila with a couple of ice cubes and a lime wedge. I was alone at home for a week. Being a very non-adventurous couch potato, I thought, like, I gotta do at least something that I could only do without parents nearby, right? So I got drunk. And I fricked up all the proportions. I blacked out and woke up 7 hours later only to find out that I threw up all over my room. By the force of sheer panic. Wooden freaking floors. Duh. I cleaned everything up. But after that I just dropped and felt like I was going to die. Clearly freaking poisoned myself. My friend had to come over to help me, cause I was real bad. Not even simple hangover bad. No. Freaking poisoned to heck bad. And only later I realized that I was pretty dang lucky not to choke on my own vomit while unconscious. So yeah, never again will I drink alone, without measure and without any freaking reasonable reason. Bleh. The only interesting fact that came from that incident was that apparently when I'm drunk out of my mind I start speaking English and English only. And I'm Russian. When I was like 10 years old, I'd go to my grandma's house and do extenuating yard work for nothing, which is cool, like not a big deal. She did however really like to frick with me even though I was like kinda just being a nice grandson. One day in particular it was like 102 degrees out, sweating my butt off pulling weeds out of her flower bed and crap like that. I was young so I didn't know how important drinking water was and I was super freaking thirsty. My grandma comes out and said she made Kool-Aid and I was stoked. It was just like red liquid in a cup, so whatever. Turns out it was straight freaking vinegar with food coloring. I chugged so much by the time my tongue caught up to my mind it was too late. I started puking so hard that I thought I was gonna die. I crapped non-stop all night. It literally purged me of everything and I felt like an empty sack of flesh by the end. Can't drink anything other people give me now unless I visibly see them drink it. Oh my gosh, that's really horrible. I'm sorry you had a grandmother like that. She sounds like she stepped out of a scary book. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.